All right, good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for being here with Coffee with the Mayor and City Manager. We appreciate you being here. Today we are doing this in a hybrid fashion, so we're here live at the Aquatic Center in Lake Havasu City, and then we also are on Facebook Live, and we'll take a combination of questions from Facebook as well as here live. We are going to go over a couple of the hot topics that are going on in Lake Havasu City, give you an update of what's going on, and then we'll answer any questions that you may have regarding what we spoke about or anything that's on your mind. So again, thank you for being here. Today we're going to start out by inviting up the Employee Appreciation Committee. If you would like to come up, and we have a special proclamation to honor you today. So Lake Havasu City has an Employee Appreciation Committee that works to engage and empower all of our team members throughout the entire city. So we have about 450 full-time employees, and they engage with all of our employees. So today we're offering a proclamation from the Office of the Mayor. The proclamation is Lake Havasu City Appreciation Day on March 5th, 2021. Whereas on this day, National Employee Appreciation Day, we take the opportunity to recognize and celebrate the hundreds of hardworking and dedicated employees of Lake Havasu City who work every day to enrich the community that they call home. And whereas also kicks off a month-long appreciation celebration by Lake Havasu City's Employee Appreciation Committee, who through their efforts provide gratitude and appreciation for our employees throughout the year. And whereas together we pay tribute to all Lake Havasu City employees for their unwavering dedication to the continuous improvement of the quality of life for our residents and visitors as they perform their jobs with professionalism, integrity, compassion, and pride. And whereas especially over the past year, our employees stepped up and united with unprecedented urgency and resolve to adapt, respond, and provide critical services to the citizens of Lake Havasu City with little to no interruption. And whereas we're proud of our employees' commitment to public service and extend our appreciation to them and further affirm that they are valued and respected and the services they provide are necessary and essential to the community we call home. Now, therefore, I, Cal Sheehy, Mayor of Lake Havasu City, Arizona, do hereby proclaim today, March 5th, 2021, as Lake Havasu City Employee Appreciation Day in Lake Havasu City. I'm going to give it to Brittany, and Brittany's going to say a few words. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much, Mayor Sheehy, for this honor. From our utility workers to our police officers to our parks and recreation staff, we have amazing people working hard every day to ensure that Lake Havasu City runs smoothly and continues to be a great place to live, work, and play. The Employee Appreciation Committee is a group of volunteers from multiple departments that is dedicated to showing all Lake Havasu City employees that they are valued by their peers and the organization as a whole. We would like to thank the mayor and the city manager for their continued support and encouragement. And most of all, we'd like to thank our colleagues for their tireless efforts. Thank you.
Excellent.
Wonderful.
Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thank you. All right.
Amazing. Employee Appreciation Day. It's a good day.
Yes, it is. And it just happened to fall on today, which is fantastic. So again, thank you to all the team members in Lake Havasu City for their service to our citizens. So we'll just get right into it and give an update on since we met last month. We'll talk a little bit about the utility rate study. We've talked about this for several months or actually probably a year and a half now. We've talked about this. We've had public meetings since last time we all got together on Friday 3 weeks ago or 2 weeks ago.
Yep.
Yeah, it all blends together.
Days blend together.
But we had 3 different sessions where we invited citizens to come actually to this room, hear from the consultants about the utility rate study and what they're proposing. What the intent is, and just to give a little bit of background of why we're even having this discussion, is that the IDD, or the Irrigation and Drainage District, which was the first quasi-government that Lake Havasu City had set up, Robert McCulloch set it up back in the 60s, and what it was, and what even the mechanism that allowed it to happen is Mr. McCulloch put a sod farm out on the island to create this district. And the district then allowed for property taxes to be assessed to fund our water system. That was set to expire by the vote of the people when they voted to incorporate Lake Havasu City in 1978. So yes, over 30 years ago, it was set to expire, but it couldn't because there was still debt associated with the first infrastructure that was put in for the sewer system, or excuse me, the water system. So now that the IDD's debt is going to expire, that means the IDD is going to expire as well, which will be a property tax savings for all of our citizens that own property. And we looked at maybe what would it look like to continue with the same district or districts similar to the IDD, but state law has changed in the last 30 plus years, and it doesn't really allow for that mechanism that would give equity to all citizens. So we took a look at the utility rates, what they are and how they're calculated, what the use is and what the capital needs are. They put all of it together and gave council about 5 different options that we looked at during our council planning session in late January. Council gave feedback to the consultant and city staff, and they brought back the 2 options that give equity across all rate users and that would be the most economical for our citizens. And they brought those back for community feedback. And we had about 35 people or so attend the 3 different sessions a couple of weeks ago to give feedback. On our council agenda coming up on Tuesday, we'll have a notification that we're going to look at the rates, and then we'll have a full discussion in May. That's the real high-level overview. I'll turn it over to Jess to give the details of what the outcomes are of those rates.
Yeah, a lot of background, and thank you, Mayor, for that. A lot of background in terms of why we're here, why we're doing it in large part is because of the expiration of the IDD. So that's a property tax line item that's on your property tax bill, and it's a per acre assessment that's charged as a property owner, and that'll be going away July 1st, 2022. So those are dollars that we collect as a city to run a nonprofit water system. So instead of looking at it from a property tax perspective, and I think we're one. I keep asking all my colleagues in other cities. Nobody else in the state that I know of handles water rates and through a property tax assessment. So we'll moving forward, we identify the fees for water and sewer, and those payments will go to fund a nonprofit water system and a nonprofit sewer system. In the end, we want to make sure that we have a full maintenance program moving forward, that we're replacing sewer mains, water mains, making sure that our 3 wastewater treatment plants are taken care of, our water treatment plant is taken care of, and then all the personnel, tools, and resources that it takes to operate those systems are fully funded through a rate process. None of the fees that are collected for your as part of like your water bill or your sewer bill that we all pay once a month, all of that goes into the system. None of that goes to pay for police or fire or those types of things too. So it's just important to know that we take those funds and we put them in what's called an enterprise fund, a separate fund that is just used to provide that service. So we talked about a few things at the retreat and heard from the residents a few weeks ago, 2 or 3 weeks ago. And by the way, that the meeting that you mentioned, Mr. Mayor, is available on the city's website. So if you go on the city's website, it's about an hour-long video, and you can hear some of the questions that we received. Consultants, staff, and elected officials responded and answered some of those questions, and there was a really good conversation. So if you want to know more about that, please visit the homepage of the city's website, and you can click on the link on the top banner there. So yeah, with that, it just kind of explains we're trying to do what we can to make sure we provide good water and sewer services, not just today, but for future. Avoid circumstances that you see that other communities with a lack of investment into an infrastructure system and what things can take place. Obviously, it's an extreme scenario, but look what happened in Texas just a few weeks ago, and we want to make sure our infrastructure is in place so we don't have to worry about those types of things happening here in Lake Havasu City.
So the discussion we've been having with the utility rate study is a long range. It's a 10-year plan that takes a look so we can actually map it out and see where it's going to go. For many years, Lake Havasu City has been on a winter quarterly averaging, which works for some people, and for other people, it's the most confusing thing in the whole wide world. But basically, it takes the average of 3 of the 4 winter months and basically sets your water rates based on that for the rest of the entire year. Your sewer rates, excuse me. But what that does is that doesn't build equity into the system, because if you're a short-term rental or maybe a summertime user, you actually have 0 usage all winter long in that 4-month period that they're doing the averaging, and then you're using more water than a traditional user and sewer services in the summer when you're using your home. So we've built in some equity in the options that council gave feedback for to ensure that it goes across the commercial sectors, because they pay different rates, multifamily pays different, single family, so building equity across the entire system. So please stay engaged in this process and give us feedback and let us know where you're at. But what we're trying to do do is offset that property tax savings that we'll have and continue to have a stable water and sewer infrastructure for the years to come, so we don't have to get into some of those situations that Jess mentioned. So. A couple of projects that are coming up. Pickleballers will be happy to know that the new pickleball court is going to open, and it's on schedule for like a early May opening date. Just as a reminder, the pickleball courts are at Dick Stamp Park. We have some others around town, but the particular area we're talking about now is at Dick Stamp Park. About 4 years ago, we built courts out there by popular demand. They are so busy that they needed more. The Pickleball Association worked really, really hard to raise over $100,000 to contribute to the additional expansion of the courts. And so we put that money together with city funds, and we're able to expand the pickleball courts. Not only were we able to do that, but Dick Stamp Park is also home to Little League, and there was not enough parking and other infrastructure out there, so we were able to enhance that park for all users through this effort, and also lay the foundation for future expansion plans for parking and some of those types of things that will come. So we're excited about the grand opening that will happen in early May for pickleball. Next up is scooters are a hot topic, and so we wanted to explain kind of where we're at with scooters and what scooters mean to Lake Havasu City and the conversation we're having with them. So the reason that we're even talking about scooters at all is we had an operator that wanted or had interest and showed interest in Lake Havasu City to do a scooter operation. So for those of you that don't know what we're talking about when we talk about scooter operations, we're talking about a business that comes into a community. They place different rental scooters around your community. People use it like a ride-sharing app on their telephone, and they're able to locate through geo-tracking where the nearest scooter may be. They then rent it through that ride-sharing app, and they drive it around their community. There's lots of challenges that come with this, and many communities that have this have found real issues with scooters being piled up in front of businesses, with scooters just being thrown across a community, obviously just traffic issues and pedestrian issues, sidewalk issues, and so a variety of all of these things. So the Lake Havasu City Code would allow for that operation to come in, and also any business can come to Lake Havasu City. We can't say, no, you can't come to Lake Havasu City. It doesn't matter if we like what they're doing or not. So we took the approach to create a pilot program, and the pilot program identifies all of those issues or potential things that we think are going to be issues and that we know are issues from other communities, and tried to adapt that into a pilot program to see if this is even feasible in a way that makes sense for our citizens and for our community. There's lots of technology that can be built into this process, so they can actually geo-track or take a geographical boundary, if you will. So let's just make it real easy and say McCulloch, and they can draw a line around McCulloch from the London Bridge to Acoma, and that's the only place that those scooters would operate. So if they went outside of that line, the system would automatically turn off, and they wouldn't be able to operate that scooter. So there are some technology or technological advances that we can employ during this. It's a 6-month pilot program, so we can identify if it does make sense, if it is good or if it's not good for us, and then move forward from there. So our intent was to get in front of it and to be able to manage it so that we weren't having to be reactive. So we're trying to be proactive to what potential opportunities are there or potential downfalls are there. And that was the action that the council took. I don't know if you have any additional feedback on.
Great explanation in terms of what it is and what we're trying to accomplish there too. I guess just to reiterate, because we had a lot of questions from the community, is like, well, why is the city running a scooter program? The city is not running a scooter program. We had a business contact the city from the legislative process. We can't say, no, you can't come to Havasu. But what we can do is make sure that we put a pilot program in place, some rules in place that to mitigate some of the nuisances that are out there. This is a scooter, as you indicated. You rent on your app. You drive from your current location to a new location, and then when you're done, you set the scooter aside and go on with your business. Where that scooter gets set aside can cause concerns for others, including trip hazards and just just from an aesthetic perspective as well too, causes some concerns. So we can't say no, but we can put rules into place. Some of those rules is we cap the number of scooters in the city, so no more than 75 scooters are allowed by this company at any one time. They have to be picked up at 11 p.m. every single night, and then they can't be put back into service within the community before 6 a.m. Every day. Making sure that we don't want the scooters in the parks or in other areas where we're going to cause some conflicts with pedestrians and things like that. Nobody wants to be walking through the park and get buzzed by one of these. So that's some of the things that we looked at. Try to look at best practices in other communities so we can kind of get ahead of this and do something that we think is right. It's a pilot program because we don't know what to expect, and it's at the end of the 6 months, council can choose to extend that pilot program, to terminate the pilot program, or take some of those discussion points in the pilot program and make it code, or put it in the code as far as city code. So yeah, we'll see how things transpire. Some people like to use these things, and some people would want nothing at all to do with these things. So we'll do our best to mitigate some of those nuisances.
Yeah, the 6-month period starts by action of the council. So once staff negotiates an agreement through the pilot program, it will then come before council. They'll have 6 months from that date. But inside the action that we took in our last meeting, we're able to cancel it if it within 72 hours or very quickly. If something goes awry and we're like, hey, this is a big mistake. So, but we wanted to give the opportunity, and there is no mechanism for us to say no. So we took the approach that let's manage it, let's get in front of it, and let's understand it from there. So more to come on scooters, but hopefully that gives an explanation of where and why and how come we're even having this discussion about scooters. Given a quick update on Riviera, this again, just as a refresher, is the new planned development that is up off of Highway 95. What you've most recently seen probably since the last time we talked is there's a stoplight on Highway 95 at the Parkway. It's operable now and it is moving, but you still can't turn into the neighborhood. So there's still blockades, so you can't get in there. The reason for that is there's a lot of heavy equipment that's moving right now, moving a lot of dirt and those types of things. And they're actually even starting to go vertical on some of the home sites that were purchased in that area. So that driveway or that parkway will open up soon for citizens to be able to drive down in that area. And at that point, a lot of the heavy equipment will be away. But the Riviera had a really robust year last year. The first neighborhood, they were able to sell out all of those lots. It was 77 lots?
77.
Yeah, 77 lots they were able to sell to folks. The city, through the development agreement, that was a 20-year development agreement, has been paid back in full on that development agreement with the sale of those 77 lots. They are also working on the second phase and the third phase neighborhoods. We've approved those plats through council. And the most exciting part is that the Arizona State Park is moving forward and will be open this summer for use. The state park is a public-private partnership, so Arizona State Parks has a contract with the Riviera Development, and they're going to operate that state park going forward. The first phase that will open will be a boat launch facility, so that'll be an area for people to launch their boats from this area. In the future phases, there'll be restaurants, there'll be concierge, boat storage, there'll be a marina, there'll be gas docks, all of those types of things in subsequent years. But we're excited that for this coming boating season, in the summertime, because boating season actually isn't now. But in the summertime, we'll be able to have that launch facility open. And Riviera is continuing to make really good strides within our community. So there'll be some additional information on Riviera as they open up other neighborhoods and other phases and other things as residents start to move into this area. But Riviera is doing everything that we anticipated, and we're so fortunate to have that development agreement paid off so early. And be able to just move forward. I don't know if you have any additional thoughts on that, Jess.
Yeah, I guess maybe just a few. And I think it's important that this is not a city project, but it is. We have the private sector and the developers that are coming in, working with state land, and obviously creating the development that's out there. That will be a gated community with private roads and streets. It'll have public infrastructure for water and sewer, but the streets will be private. But we're obviously, so we've done our share as a city by providing that connection from Highway 95 down to the launch ramp. So city has successfully done or accomplished what we set out to do, and set the stage for the private sector, the developer, and the partnerships with the state parks to develop and for that marina to open up. They're telling us this summer, so that's fantastic, fantastic news. So there's construction that's occurring right now, a lot of trucks and so forth. That's why that area is closed. There's nothing to go down there to see. And I've seen some pictures recently. There's a lot of concrete being poured down there right now. I was told upwards of 5 acres of concrete's been poured in the last couple months. And so that's good news in terms of progress, and that's all established for that boat launch. So that'll be very exciting to alleviate some of the boat traffic that we see now from off of the island, off of Windsor, and Site 6. Now we'll have that new launch facility on the south side of the community to kind of maybe spread out some of that boat traffic. So everybody is very eager to know when that's gonna open up, and it's coming, and it won't be too long now.
Yeah, excellent. We'll talk a little bit about the budget process and the structural deficit. We've talked about this several times over the last 12 plus months about this, but the budget process starts with the council planning session in January. We receive feedback from staff. We kind of get an outlook of where we're at and where we're going. We start to set priorities as a council, and then we move in to the spring. As council, our job is done for the short term, and Jess and his team are meeting and going through the details of the budget. So what exactly do they need? How many staff members? How many vehicles? What type of infrastructure do we need? So they're preparing all of that right now. That's a February, March, early April project for Jess and his team. Then it comes back to myself and my colleagues on council, and we have those discussions in our budget work session. So we'll have we have a workshop coming up, or a work session on March 31st, and we're going to talk about revenues and what that looks like. And then in April, we have the start of our budget work session. So those will be longer sessions, 3, 4, 5 hours long, that will go through all of the details of the budget. The budget's one of the most important aspects of what the council adopts each year. It gives a solid work plan that prioritizes the citizens' needs and wants, and gives Jess and his team the direction to be able to fulfill that for our community. So we've talked about the structural deficit and what that means, and basically what it is we are spending more each day than we actually bring in revenue. That's the structural deficit. Not to be alarmed, we know we're doing that. That's always been what the plan is. We're spending into our savings, and our savings are taxpayer dollars, so it makes sense to do that if the priorities are correct. And so for many years we've said you can't do that forever. You can't always spend into your savings account, so how are we going to address that? So if one piece of positive light came out of the last year and the everything that the pandemic brought to us and to citizens, it has done very well for our sales tax collections and some of those things. So we'll have those discussions on March 31st that the need for revenues might not be as strong immediately, but what does that long range plan look like? Because again, you still can't do it long range, but at least have those conversations so that Jess and his team can have clarity on how they can focus to ensure that they're meeting the directives of council and the citizens, and how we can make sure that the citizens' needs are taken care of. So just that's the elected officials' perspective. Now on to Jess's perspective.
Yeah, so from the staff perspective, our department's been working very hard the last several months now to start thinking about what the needs are for the next fiscal year. And remember, our fiscal year is from July 1st through June 30th. So we're trying to tee up some conversations on what the budget looks like for July 1st and the 12 months that come after that time frame. Very, very important. You talk about the word budget and everybody kind of cringes. What a boring, dry topic. But it's so important to understand it's not just a document with a bunch of numbers, but that's our plan in terms of the dollars that are collected and how these dollars are being spent. Do we need police vehicles? Should we take a looking at other approaches, through the budget process? What are the community's priorities, and have ongoing conversations and forums like this, and council meetings, and just general conversations on a day-to-day basis with the public. So we want to make sure we know kind of what we're doing, and from our perspective right now, we're putting together a plan of how we're going to spend money basically 18 months from now. So it gets a little bit of a guessing and some educated guesses as that path moves forward. But once we get that budget into place, departments will come up to me or citizens will have conversations about the city needs to do that. And sometimes my response is, well, we can't, it's not in the budget. So if you want to get it in the budget, right now is the time to engage the elected officials, city staff, and city employees, as this kind of develops. We have some challenges in terms of the budget, and we know that we're looking at the structural deficit and using some of the savings that the city has received over prior years to help fund that budget. And we also our staff does great work, and I'm very diligent in the process of once the budget is adopted. It's not like there's $50,000 for this project. You have to spend $50,000. Absolutely not. We want to make sure that we're taking the proper approach to save dollars, look at efficiencies, find streamlined processes that help us spend dollars, taxpayer dollars, as wisely as possible. And part of the path or the approach in previous years is the dollars that we save in this budget year through our diligence is then reserved for some of the one-time requests that come from the departments for the following year. Essentially, right now, the direction that we've had with the departments over this year will be the same as previous years. Is you have a base budget, and we looked at these budgets over and over and over again to make sure that that it makes sense and we're not overspending. And we looked at these things in a variety of different ways for some different cost-saving measures. So the departments have that base budget, and anything that they want to add to that budget is then comes through a request process. So the department heads have done their due diligence. Starting next week and then bleeding into the following week, I'll be meeting with each of the department heads and having conversations about the different requests and the resources that are available, and trying to kind of put that plan together. So then we can come to council with the upcoming work sessions, have those conversations, what's important, what makes sense, what doesn't make sense. So the first work session is on March 31st. We'll be talking about the revenues for the city and the financial history and outlook for the city. Where do we sit now financially and from financial health perspective, and where are we going to sit 5 years, 10 years from now? So we want to make sure that we put all that in place. And then we have the next work session after that will be on April 22nd, and then we'll be talking about our CIP projects, the one-time projects that are identified as capital projects each and every year. What does that look like? I think right now programmed, just because we're in the building, next year, and then the CIP will have a CIP project for the aquatic center. We have a beautiful facility, but we have an aging facility, and there's some issues that we have in terms of humidity and airflow and so forth within the aquatic center. If you've ever been to the aquatic center, we got the garage doors open and the huge fans running just to try to get to air out that space. And so we're going to do some HVAC and some similar improvements to the facility so we can extend that life. That's just one project that's set for the CIP next year. Many other projects that include variety of different departments. But now's the time to engage in conversation. So if you have ideas for the city, if you see us spending money in a way that we shouldn't be spending, tell us. We'd love to have those conversations and generate some ideas. If you have ideas on how we should spend more money, I'm going to need a conversation of how do we collect more money as well too, because that's just the essence of where we're at right now.
Excellent. Talk a little bit about off-roading and the desert landscape around us. So we want to just give a quick PSA to all of our desert users if they can just be responsible. So there's the pack it in, pack it out. We all know that if we go hiking and if we go out and use those facilities, we need to ensure the same thing is happening with our desert areas. A lot of the desert areas that surround us are not in control of Lake Havasu City. Many of them not even in Lake Havasu City limits. But we have a lot of our citizens that go out there and enjoy shooting and off-roading and all of those types of things, which is fantastic. But make sure anything that you carry out there, you bring back in. One of the easiest things you can do if you're going to go out there and target shoot or practice shooting or have a good time out there, lay down a tarp and all of your shells then fall in the tarp and you can pick them up pretty easily. I learned that this seems so basic that of course you would do that. It was to me a surprise was like, oh, that's so smart, because I actually go and I pick up my own shells amongst all the other ones and then put them back into the cart or into the carrier, almost like an egg crate. And I was like, I've been doing that all these years when I could have just thrown down a tarp, which was so easy. But so that's one tip or trick, but just make sure, pack it in, pack it out. While we're also talking about desert and off-road uses, we're really having a lot of challenges with people using our wash beds and the interior of our city limits for their off-road vehicles. So they're going up and down washes at rapid speeds. They're out on the island and doing off-roading in the hills and the dunes on the island. None of that is allowed, and none of that is okay. So you're going right next to neighbors' homes and blowing up all of this dust, and it's going right into their homes. Please be respectful when you're out there on these trails. Certainly you can take your off-road vehicle from the island roadway to the beach or to the water, but do it at a slow speed as if you would be going down. It's not a place to go off-road and hot dogging. That's just not what it's about. So please be respectful in that area and take care of our natural landscape, our desert landscape, and don't off-road in our wash beds within the city. It's really creating quite a nuisance for our citizens. I know you get several of those calls as well, Jess, so I don't know if you want to add any light to that.
Yeah, I think the key message there, Mayor, is be respectful. Please be respectful. So, I mean, we're talking about no off-roading essentially within the limits of Lake Havasu City. There's lots of trails that surround us and use those in a manner that's appropriate. But I think I hear a dialogue coming from the community. What do you mean there's no off-roading in Lake Havasu City within the boundaries? We've been doing that for the last 30 years. What happened between then and now? Well, we have growth, and there's a lot of homes and a lot of things that occurred from a development perspective, and so those cookies that were done before, that when that dust kicks up, it wasn't bothering anybody before, but now when that occurs, we get the emails, we get the phone calls, and residents are rightfully so annoyed by these dust storms that then enter their property and backyard and pool area and whatever else too, and just from a health perspective, we have a lot of residents that have asthma, respiratory issues. So dust isn't helping those cases at all. So, but just please be respectful. Obviously, Havasu, you come here to have fun, and as residents, we enjoy that 12 months out of the year, and we still want that to occur. But just be respectful of the person next to you.
Great. Let's talk a little bit about events as we're starting to see into the spring and our spring event lineup, going into next fall's event lineup. Over the past year, of course, many of our events canceled. The event organizers worked with either their nonprofit boards or their organizations or made the decision to cancel the event for concern of the pandemic. But as we're starting to round that corner and vaccines are available and mitigation strategies are well known and people are practicing them, it makes sense to obviously start going back into to life as normal as is safe to do so. So Jess and his team have been working rapidly with event promoters and with departments to how do we do that and how do we do it safely? How do we ensure that the interests of our citizens are protected from a health and safety standpoint, and also that the event is still a fun place to be, and how do you do all of those things? So Jess, I'll let you talk a little bit about what you and your team have been doing on that front as we kind of open back up the event side of things.
Yeah, I think a couple of things that maybe to paint that picture before I start talking about the decisions made by the city is kind of where we're at in terms of cases and hospital capacity in terms of of COVID and the pandemic. It wasn't too long ago, just a month and a half ago, where we're looking at some scary numbers in terms of cases coming in on a per-day basis, and looking at the capacity at the hospital and the stress and strain that it puts on our healthcare community and the professionals in that community. But we've seen some really good numbers in the last several weeks, and that's a very good thing. And we're seeing more and more instances of where we're getting the vaccinations, although they're not coming as quickly as they need to come, and we're trying to do what we can on the back end. We're not responsible for the distribution or for the supply, but we're doing the best we can to force the issue the best that we can. But as the vaccines get rolled out and so forth, we're now in a better situation than we were every day we're in a better situation kind of moving forward. In the meantime, we also have an executive order from the governor's office that says that any special events that exceed 50 people need to go through a proper protocol. And that's essentially what that is every event organizer that puts forth an event has to put together a COVID plan. And a COVID plan is essentially, what are you doing differently this year with an event in a pandemic environment that you would do differently from previous years when you hosted that event. So we're doing our best to encourage the promoters and the event organizers to put some thought to this, and that's really what we're trying to do. What are you going to do differently? And we've seen some hybrid type of events. Just yesterday we had the Havasu Deuces, and normally in the downtown that would require a street closure, a permanent street closure throughout the event. But we took the speeds down to 5 miles per hour and then tried our best the organizer came up with the idea, and we're grateful to have partners like that in the community. Came up with the idea of let's not do a closure, let's open it up, let's bring the speeds down and to make sure that it's a safe environment, but how do we spread out those groups of people and still enjoy ourselves from a special event perspective. I think Mike, I think the number that we've had in this year, normally we have about 2 tournaments for baseball tournaments per year. And how many have we had this year? I mean, it's probably about 38 to 40. Yeah, so about normally we do 2 baseball tournaments per year. So like kids come in with a league and a weekend tournament. Normally we get 2 of those a year. So with as Mike just indicated, Mr. Mike Keene from our Parks and Recreation Department indicated, we had about 38 to 40 of those events, up from 2. So that's a big jump. We're getting applications for different events that are occurring maybe that would otherwise occur elsewhere that are going to occur over at Sarah Park. So Windsor State Park, which hosts a number of events, including the boat show that's put on by the Marine Association. Windsor State Parks is saying that Windsor can't be used for a special event right now, and not allowing any events. So some of those events then are occurring in other locations like Sarah Park. But we look at these things closely. Try to do our best to put the promoter in a good place to make good decisions, and try to do our best to get to that point. But also, it's a very fluid situation. So we saw just this week, as far as news, what is it Governor Abbott in Texas, and started to minimize some of the restrictions that are taking place in that state. Will Governor Ducey do something like that in upcoming weeks or months? We don't know, and if he does, we'll look at following suit with some of those directives as well too. So we do our best. I guess one of the biggest things, detriments to Lake Havasu City with less events in the last 12 months is many of these events are nonprofit, and the funds that they receive for these events go to charities. So those funds are not being collected by the event organizers. Those funds are not being distributed to our food bank and to the different social programs and nonprofits within the community. So I think a lot of people are eager to do some fundraisers and get some events going. We enjoy going to them, and then obviously our nonprofits in the community and benefit from that as well too.
Yeah, thank you. So I think the message here is, as you see events and they look maybe a little bit different than the last time you were there, be kind. A lot of thought has went into this. This is it's new for everybody. So the event organizers, the city, the state, it's just new for everybody. And so we're going to get back to normal, but there might be a little bit of bumpy road as we do. So just be kind through there. There was a thought to it. There was a process to it, and some of these decisions are being made in different lights. So today we're talking about these fantastic COVID numbers that Jess mentioned. But just 3 weeks from today, like 3 weeks backwards, our hospitals were nearing capacity. I mean, so it happens that quick. So we're very quick to forget where we were at. But you obviously were planning events out more than 3 weeks in advance. So just be kind as we go through there. Share your feedback certainly, so that we know what worked and what didn't work. And we'll share that with the event promoters, and we'll get back to going on at rapid pace. So we'll continue on that front. Jess did mention some of the vaccines and the vaccination process. We were only receiving about 2,000 doses to Mojave County for the entire county. We're now up to 8,000 doses in Mojave County, and that will increase with the new Johnson & Johnson vaccine that'll be coming to the county, they believe, by next week. So we are starting to see that increase. There are a lot of providers in Lake Havasu City, and what some of the cog in the system is right now is that people have signed up for every single provider, and so there's a stack of just applications that are duplicates around the entire city. So as each of these providers make their way through and they call and say, hey, we have an appointment, they're like, oh, I already got one, or they go there and they take that one, but they don't go cancel the other 7 that they signed up for, which just takes time. So it's it takes 30, 40, 50 seconds to do that, but that multiply that times thousands of citizens, and you can see where that cog could be. But the providers that are doing vaccines in Lake Havasu City are doing such a fantastic job. So the feedback I receive from citizens that get in and see the process and get it done is really phenomenal. So we appreciate all of the providers that are doing that. Again, it's have some patience when it comes to the vaccines. I know those words seem easy for me to say, but please just have some patience. This is record time that a vaccine has come to market and is effective for this virus, and be kind to all those vaccine providers as well, and we'll be able to get through some of these things. But it's just indicated the only people that don't have a seat at this table is the city. The federal government allocates to the state, Arizona Department of Health Services allocates to the county, and then the county distributes out to the providers within the county. So we've weaseled our way to the table, but we're kind of like at the kids' table, so sometimes they listen to us and sometimes they don't. But we'll continue to fight for that. We want to have vaccines available for every citizen that wants a vaccine, and we want it in a really rapid pace. So we're continuing to fight for that and try and ease up that system for everybody, and we're doing everything that we can on that front to make those things happen. So let's talk a little bit about the legislative session. Sure. And then we'll start to transition to the part of the program that focuses on your questions. So the legislative session is obviously going down in Phoenix. Our delegation from our area does such a fantastic job, led by Senator Borelli, who's the majority whip in the Senate. We have Representative Regina Cobb, who is the appropriations chair, and then Leo Biasucci, who is actually the majority whip in the House. So great leadership from our community and our district. They're fighting really hard for us. And part of the fight is not just bills that would be good for Lake Havasu City, but it's fighting away the bills that would be bad for Lake Havasu City, which unfortunately there's more of those than there are that are good. So 2 priorities that we have for Lake Havasu City is our vacation rental bill that we're championing. It's not everything we want, but all we're looking for is a way to help manage vacation rentals in our community. We had that ability, and we adopted an ordinance in 2014 that really was a model for what cities could use to have a nice balanced approach to managing vacation rentals. It required an on-site 24-hour contact, a local 24-hour contact. That'd be kind of weird to have an on-site contact, but a local contact that we could get 24 hours a day. They would have to register with the city. There was a good neighbor brochure, trash requirements, traffic and parking requirements, but it really worked great. It allowed people that stayed in the vacation rental to know kind of what the parameters were and what it is meant to be. It allowed homeowners that chose to rent in a short-term rental to know the expectations and to be able to deliver that message to their guests. And it allowed for the peaceful enjoyment of the other neighbors in the neighborhood. It really was a nice balanced approach that worked really, really well for Lake Havasu City. And then the state thought they knew better, and then they decided to preempt cities and towns, and they passed a bill in 2016. And that bill preempted us from doing any action whatsoever. So even the light touch that was working so perfectly for Lake Havasu City now had to be taken out, and we couldn't do that anymore. So we've been at work now for 4 years trying to get a vacation rental bill that allows us to manage it locally, and just to the front that I talked about. We're just looking for a contact. We're looking to make sure they register, and we're looking to make sure that the guests that are staying in that facility or in that home know kind of what the rules of the neighborhood are. And it's not that these guests are meaning to be loud or a nuisance, but when you're on vacation, you stay up a little bit later, you might have more people with you, you're having a good time, and just this voice that I'm talking in right now, if I'm on the pool deck at 11 o'clock at night talking to my friend on the pool, it's going to carry, and it'll carry over the block wall into your neighborhood or maybe into your bedroom window, and they just don't realize in this desert landscape how voices just travel and carry at normal pace. So add a little bit of music to that, and then it becomes a bit of a nuisance for the neighborhood. And so, but once they're informed, they're usually pretty cool about it. So it's just having that mechanism in which to do that, and that's why we're pushing for the ability to have local control on short-term rentals. Now, over the past 30 days, there seems to be an association or a group of misinformed folks that are stirring up vacation rental conversation that think that the Lake Havasu City Council is going to make statewide decisions on vacation rentals. And so we're getting lots of emails and phone calls that are saying, I can't believe you're opposed to short-term rentals. I can't believe you're doing this, and I can't believe you're doing that. Well, none of that is even true. Lake Havasu City has had vacation rentals since the 70s. It's always been part of what and who we are, that people have second homes or vacation homes here in this area. We're not looking to get rid of vacation rentals. We're looking to have that balanced approach that we had previously. So vacation rentals, we made them popular in Lake Havasu before these big platforms were doing vacation rentals. So we know how to do it. We're just asking the state, get out of our way and let us do what we do, and we'll be able to manage that and do what's best for our citizens and have that balanced approach. Any other thoughts on short-term rental before we move?
Well, I like that comment, local control, which basically equates to the state, get out of our way, allow us to do the things that we know how to do within the community. And I think that's important to maybe talk about just in the big picture in regards to some of the concerns we get from residents. Well, why don't you pull that permit or stop that short-term rental or get rid of that or do this in a certain way or come up with this certain approach that would fix all this? Like you alluded to, Havasu had an ordinance in place that was working back in 2014. You could go on the city's website, you could click on a map, you could see where every short-term rental was within the city, and you could see the contact information for each of those short-term rentals. So you know whether you're buying a house or those that are in your neighborhood or just, that maybe just purchased a short-term rental in your neighborhood, you could see that. All the contact information was there, and so forth. And then the state comes in 2016 and essentially passes a bill that says cities shall not regulate short-term rentals. Took away all the ability. We couldn't even ask for them to register. We couldn't even ask for them to go through a process to, okay, give me your name, address, and a contact person. State says, no, you can't regulate. You can't ask for their name. You can't ask for that contact person. You can't do anything. So then now we're stuck in a situation where now we're working backwards from that. So each legislative session, we get up here at the coffees and different conversations throughout the year, and we're asking the state to give more local control. State, get out of our way, especially on an issue like this, so we know how to manage. And so every year they come back and say they don't take away that you can't regulate. What they do is they introduce little things here and there that says, okay, cities, you can do this or you can do that, and these are legislative solutions that are trying to fix the situation from a statewide perspective. Well, the short-term rental situation in Havasu is much, much different than other cities across the state. But it's these one solutions that fit all that normally don't work. But one of the things in one of the short-term rental bills right now would allow us to at least register the owners and get that process back into place, so we know where they're at. We know how to communicate with problems and so forth. But yeah, that's where we're at. State says you cannot regulate, and then every year they come back and tease us with, maybe we'll give you something here that you could use to address these situations. But it's a big, big deal for Havasu, and we hear concerns from short-term rentals on an ongoing basis.
Yeah, and so when we say we're asking the state to move out of the way and let us do what we do, we're not trying to be arrogant with it.
No.
But we work for you, the citizens of Lake Havasu City. We're closest to you. We're here, right here. You can talk to us. We can't talk to the people at the state. So this impacts you. Let us address it and fix that for you. And that's the perspective we're coming from. Not that we know better or we're smarter than the state. It's that you're smarter, and it's your neighborhood. Let us fix that for you, and so that's what we're looking for. We also have a bill that Representative Biasucci is championing for us, and that's to redo Highway 95. Highway 95 was done 20 plus years ago, and it's some of the intersections are quite horrible, actually, and lots of road work needs to be done in that area. It's not in the 5-year ADOT plan, so Arizona Department of Transportation, who's responsible for the state highways, has a 5-year plan by district, and because there's other road priorities throughout this district that are in greater need than Highway 95 in Lake Havasu City, we haven't made it to the 5-year plan. It doesn't mean that we don't have a need. It just means that we haven't made it to the 5-year plan. So even if we get in the 5-year plan, get funding identified, we would be talking like 2026, 2027 before we could get Highway 95 redone. It won't last that long. And so Representative Biasucci identified that, and he is working through a process with a bill to get monies for us to be able to redo Highway 95. When I say we, it will be the beneficiaries. It'll be the State Department of Transportation that will redo Highway 95 within our community. So we're following that very closely. That'll be kind of tucked in with the budget bills that are going to be coming at the state level to see if that comes to fruition. But it's made it through committee. Fortunately, Representative Cobb is a big champion of it as well. And I know Senator Borelli will when it gets over to his chamber as well. So
Thank you, Representative Biasucci.
yes, he led the way on that. We're very grateful. So we'll get to your questions, but before I do, I would like to introduce some of my colleagues. We have Vice Mayor Jenny Koch is with us this morning. Thank you. We have Councilmember David Lane with us. Good morning. And Councilmember Cameron Moses. Welcome. Thank you for being here with us this morning. And then Maria, did you want to introduce? Yeah, Maria from Mojave Community College. If you want to come on up front, and we'll get you on a microphone. Hello. Good to see you. Oh yeah, welcome. Yeah, you too.
Hello, everybody. My name is Maria Yon, and I'm the Dean of Student and Community Engagement at Mojave Community College. I'm very happy to be here. I've been here since the end of July, so I got here right when it was 122 degrees. Looking forward to that weather again. It's coming up. We do have a new dean at our college. He's the Dean of Workforce and Regional Partnership. Really excited to have him. He wasn't able to make it today, but I'll be introducing him around town, around the city. He's going to be residing here in Lake Havasu City, but he's working for the whole college and helping us develop out our career and technical education, as well as partnering up with our different folks here, the businesses, the industries, to be able to develop out our programs here in Lake Havasu City and in Mojave Community College. I also, because I am the student, I am the Dean of Student and Community Engagement, there's a lot of events that are happening on our campus virtually right now. One that's coming up on Monday specifically, we're doing a global perspective on Indigenous women's rights around the world. We have a person who has worked with the United Nations. She's going to be joining us virtually. I have some flyers for that, and I'll put them out. And we also have a lot of other different events. We're partnering up with the city to do the Drug Take Back Day on April 24th. That's going to be happening on our campus, and that's on a Saturday between 10 and 2 o'clock, I believe so. And then also we are opening back up March 22nd, and that's for student services. That's between the hours of 10 and 4. We are looking at having an in-person commencement as well at the Anderson Fieldhouse out in Bullhead City. And so we are really excited just to get back out and continue to be engaged in the community. I am really excited to be here. I'm looking forward to all of the events that take place in Lake Havasu City. I am tired of being in my little townhouse. I want to get out and about. I want to be involved and just continue to champion Lake Havasu City. That's really one of my goals, is just continue to be able to infuse a college-going culture within our community, from the little ones all the way up until the retired ones. We can continue to provide education, knowledge building, engagement events on our campus, virtually. I'm open to ideas how we can continue to do that. Let me know. I am here for you. I work for you, for my community. I come from a community grassroots infused background, so I'm an advocate for the community and for our youth and continuing to help them pursue their educational journey. So let me know what I can do, and looking forward to continuing with working with all of you and just being involved in the community. I'm also a walker in the morning here at Rotary Park at 6 o'clock in the morning, so anybody here who wants to come out and join us, we are walking. We have a little crew from MCC who does that at 6 o'clock in the morning, so super excited about that. And I believe that's it. That's all I have for right now. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. And a big thank you to Mojave Community College, who's been a great partner in our fight against COVID. They opened up their campuses for community-wide testing, and now also they're one of the vaccine locations for a vaccine partner to be there. They're not actually doing the vaccines, but they've been very gracious with their sites for us. So thank you. All right, we'll now take questions.
I do one thing. I value my life, and if I don't mention this, I'm going to be Jerry Bracamonte is going to come after me with a vicious attack. Jerry Bracamonte works for the Lake Havasu City, and she helps provide guidance to our Havasu Youth Advisory Council, and that's the students at our local high schools that do great things for the community, really great things for the community. They've accomplished quite a bit, and the next effort that they're putting forth is Operation Restock the food bank. So after the holidays occur, the food bank is short. So we go out there and we do great things during the holiday season. We make the donations. Families in need receive those food donations. And but after the holidays, now is the time to restock. So Jerry and the Havasu Youth Advisory Council have set a date for March 27th, and it's a drive-through drop-off. So, and if you go over to the food bank, which is located over on 1980 North Kiowa Avenue, again on March 27th in the morning from 9 a.m. to noon, drop off some items. So canned meats, canned vegetables, other dry goods that are out there. So let's band together and do some good things there.
Yeah, excellent. All right, Councilmember Lane is going to take the microphone around, so you want to start with Donna and pass along? Yeah.
I just wanted to say thank you to City Parks and Rec and the Disc Golf League at Sarah Park. There was a tournament the first part of February. My daughter and grandson came to visit. I don't do public speaking.
Oh, you're great.
What was really cool is my grandson said, you know, Grammy, if there was a single blade of grass, this would be my favorite course. So thank you for the efforts, the cleanup, the beautification of the course at Sarah Park. It's really awesome.
Yeah, thank you.
I actually have two subjects I'd like to question and make a statement on. One is the water, and two is the scooters. So let's start with the scooters first, least important to me. The cities that I come from have both tried this. They found that during their pilot programs, the people were really diligent on keeping everything straight and square, and then once they got the okay, they got real lax and things went crazy. I don't want them here, period. They're gonna clog up the streets, they're gonna mess up traffic. It's just gonna be a nightmare. The other thing I was wondering about was on water. I did watch the television for the programs that you put out there for information, and that's specifically to me what that was. That was information. Very little feedback at that time from the public. Is there going to be a time when we can tell you what we want as far as the A choice or B choice? Because if you look here, there's not very many people here. And I really hate being told what to do by very few people. Mm-hmm. And I would like to see the city really get the majority of the people, give some feedback on what they want to do with this water instead of just a few people.
Yeah, great question. So start with the scooters. Ditto, we agree with you, but we can't keep them out. So we need to manage it and get in front of it, and that's what we're trying to do. So we understand and we get it. We're being mindful of that. Continue to give us your feedback on how it is as the pilot program progresses. When it comes to water, yes. Obviously, it's been a little bit unique this past year with public gatherings and people's comfort level. That's why we've gone out of our way to ensure that video is available on our website. It's available on Channel 4, so we can solicit feedback. We're here today getting feedback. So this is feedback. We've had the 3 sessions a couple of weeks ago. We're meeting with other civic and fraternal organizations throughout the community. Anyone can reach out to us. And then we're a representative government of the people by the people. So you all elect myself and my 6 colleagues on council for us to gather and gain feedback and input. And that's what we're doing. And I know all of my council members, our fellow council members are doing so. We want more community engagement. So please reach out. Let us talk about it. We'll have a public opportunity on Tuesday when we have the council item in front of us. No detail will be there on Tuesday, except that we'll be calling for a rate review. And then in our council meeting in May, we will also have public hearings there. And then through the budget process, we'll have public hearings. So yes, we would love public engagement. The more the merrier, the more people have an opinion, a thought, let us know, so we can take that into account. So yeah, great questions. We'll come to you, Sonia, in just a second. We'll move back up.
Hi, good morning. I have a comment and a concern. We're hot rodders in town, have been for 12 years in this community. Drive the boulevard every Thursday, and last night was epic. It was so freaking awesome, but if I had to change one thing, I would have left the lights on, because I don't know if you drove the boulevard last night, but it was a nightmare at the 4-way stops, especially at the 2 lights. I mean, it was a nightmare. It was honestly terrifying in a classic car. So leave the lights on, because people don't know what they're doing. And 2, we live on Shorewood, have, again, for 12 years. And as of recently, you know, we're home a little bit more lately. In the evenings, I don't know what it is, but we live on that curve there, in between Catalina and, I don't know, what's the? Huntington. And it is like a road course, race course. People have been coming around that corner. This is residential at, I would say, in excess of 70 miles an hour. And more than once. And there's a few people, there's 3 cars that do it on the regular. I've actually almost got hit. His father almost got hit in our cars. We still have children in our streets. You know, it's really quite terrifying. The one guy, I actually stopped him and confronted him and said, look, you know, like, please just slow down. He doesn't care. I mean, I don't know, but if we could get some, always in the afternoon, it's from 4 to, I don't know, like 7, 7:30, and it's every night. So, oh yeah, and then there were on, was it Huntington? I don't know, there's that new property construction, and they had dump trucks. The dump trucks with dirt were going 50 miles an hour down our street. With a full load. There's no way you could stop. And that's on a curve. So we would really appreciate some police presence in that area.
Yeah.
And thank you guys for doing this.
Yeah, excellent. Thank you, and thank you for your comments. And we are in the process of learning on the event, so thank you for the feedback on the lights. I did drive the boulevard myself last night, and I get what you're saying. And we will take a look at the speed on Shorewood for sure. I know the area you're talking about, and we'll take a look at it. You couldn't have been more specific with the police chief here, the times and everything, so I'm sure his team's on it. But yeah, thank you for that feedback. Councilmember Lane?
Hi, everybody. Hi, Cal. Mary
Hi.
Tebow here. I'm here because I heard a rumor. We walk every morning, talk to the neighbors, and yesterday my neighbor said that our Kmart was going to be turned into a marijuana growing and distribution center. And that terrified me, and that's why I'm here, because that does not belong on McCulloch Boulevard. Thank you.
Yeah, great. Yeah, thank you for your question. What we did with the Kmart facility is the Kmart facility is huge. You wouldn't necessarily know it, but is it 120,000? It's 120,000 square feet. So to put that in perspective, the shopping center owners went out and tried to find different retailers, and they were willing to subdivide that facility similar to what they did at the shopping center in Kiowa that once housed Walmart and now houses 4 or 5 different retail areas. So it's, again, 120,000 square feet, and they were able to gain interest from one furniture store, and they were willing to take 20,000 square feet. So 100,000 square feet is a lot. So in the summertime, we were having discussions about job growth and job development, and we had an opportunity with a high-tech manufacturer that wanted to relocate to Lake Havasu City. They needed approximately 100,000 square feet facility, and although light manufacturing isn't really ideal on the front of like McCulloch, and especially in an iconic building like our Kmart, we already were grieving the death of retail and grieving the death of downtown shopping, and now we were talking about light manufacturing in this area. But as we had more conversations during the planning and zoning public hearings and the council public hearings, it actually made a whole lot of sense to be able to put this high-tech manufacturer in this downtown retail space. And so they came to the council, they came to planning and zoning first with a recommendation to council to approve a planned development to allow this light manufacturing to go in the old facility. And what they have done is they've moved in. Right now, they currently have 47 people that they've hired locally. These are good, well-paying jobs with benefits. And they have the capacity to go up to about 265 full-time employees at this facility. I had the great pleasure to join several of my colleagues on council and take a tour of the facility a couple of weeks ago to see the operation, and you would see this high-tech robotic manufacturing that's occurring in this place. It's really phenomenal. Currently, their product, so this is where some of the truth to your rumor comes in to play. Currently, the product that they manufacture is the Nug Smasher, and the Nug Smasher basically smashes plant material to get the liquids out of that. And the part that's the truth to your rumor is people on the marijuana plant, they smash that in with this heat press, and it gets the THC out of it, and the liquid for that. And so all they're doing at this facility is manufacturing the machinery. And they do have plans for future manufacturing with their robotics for other products. They're innovators, they're designers, they're inventors, and they'll continue to do that. But there is no cultivation of marijuana. There's no dispensaries, there's no marijuana, there's no drugs, there's no nothing. It's a high-end robotic manufacturing firm that's going to employ 265 of our citizens. So hopefully that, do you have a follow-up question to that?
Thank you. That's good news. I was quite concerned. You probably remember, I was a grade school teacher for a long time, and we did the, DARE program. Our officers came in, and it was a very serious thing to keep our children away from drugs, and we certainly don't need to be putting that in our beautiful across from Wheeler Park thing in our city. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah, so some of the protections we have in that area is through the plan development that the council approved. They can't have any smells, no odors. They need to keep a retail-looking front on there. And so it'll still have the look and feel of a downtown center, and they've already invested a lot of money on the front to repaint the building, and they have some landscape improvements. So it'll still be a nice downtown area that's just producing jobs for our citizens. So, yeah, Sonia?
Back to the scooters. If you find that it's not working after 6 months, can we say no?
Yes, and in the pilot program, if we find out it's not working in 3 days, we can say no. Yeah, so it's built in that if it's not working, we say, you are out of here. And then we have to say what they do from there.
Yeah, or place further restrictions on it to the point that it wouldn't be feasible, honestly. So.
Yeah, but they're not going to stay where they're not wanted. And,
Yeah.
And it needs to make economic sense for them as well. And so, as just said, through some mechanisms that can be discussed too.
But we'll set them up for success, and this could be fantastic. We could be coming back in a few months and saying, wow, they did a really good job with the program. We didn't, all the things we expected or that could have happened didn't happen. But we're prepared for all scenarios, good and bad. So did you ever think that you'd be up here explaining how a nug smasher works?
No. No, I did not.
Yeah.
I just had a question about the police neighborhood night out. Are they planning anything this year?
Oh, the neighborhood
neighborhood
watch, yes. The
night
chief
out?
is shaking. He said yes for neighborhood watch night out, where all the watches come together and get training and get to have fellowship with our police officers. The chief is indicating yes, something will happen this year. More to come.
City budget. So you have a savings account, is that correct?
Yes.
I would assume that it's invested, so you're getting dividends for it. I see people, private citizens, start dipping into their savings. And the next thing you know, they don't have any savings. And it worries me that the city can go that way, could go that way. So I'm just putting it out there that you don't dip into your savings, please.
Yeah, I appreciate it. If I can address that too, we're kindred spirits, and I think so. That's the message that we're trying to communicate and try to get the word out. So we need to do one of a few things. We need to cut services that will impact the service delivery, will be visible by the residents, or we need to look at other options that are out there. Some of we call it a savings account because it's something that we can kind of all relate to. We all have or should have a savings account, right? But basically what we're talking about here is the unencumbered funds that aren't reserved for any particular purpose other than filling that structural deficit on an ongoing basis, year-to-year basis. A lot of the reason for that savings account is because for several years we were deferring costs or needs for the organization because we remember Prop 409 a couple years ago with expenditure limitation. We couldn't spend over a certain amount of money, so we weren't purchasing certain items. Police vehicles. We went 3+ years without buying a police vehicle. The agenda on Tuesday is going to be a great example. You look at some of the things that are on that agenda for council consideration. We're going to be the final touch for the purchase of a CERT vehicle. Our volunteers in the community that we see in the lime green shirts or the bright green shirts at the events that are helping with first aid stations and water bottles and assist our firefighters. Their vehicle is 20+ years old, so we're going to purchase a vehicle for them. We're going to have council consider purchasing 4 police vehicles. The front end loaders that you see that Public Works utilizes after a storm event and cleaning up the streets and so forth. We have a handful of those loaders. Our oldest one that we need replaced is 17 years old. Our newest loader is 14 years old. So there's some equipment that needs to be replaced to make sure that when something happens, we can react and provide that service to the public. So so it's important to take a look at that and in terms of where we need to be. But in the end, we're going to put everything on the table. We're going to have a conversation about where we're at, where we want to be, and make good decisions from there.
And when Jess is being pretty gracious when he says 20 years old for the CERT vehicle, it's 30 years old
30 years?
and
Yeah.
repurposed
From
its original use. So, and the CERT folks are all volunteers, hundreds and hundreds of hours. They rehab our fire department and firefighters after a fire event. They rehab our police department in large situations. They do all of the first aid at events, as Jess had mentioned. But at the same point, your point is well taken. That's the discussion we'll have March 31st at that work session. And the reason that we're having this discussion now is that we know into the future through forecasting. We want to make sure that we have the community input and the community buy-in to any action that we do. As Jess mentioned, we use it as a savings account just because it's easy for us to equate as into our personal lives. But it's just unencumbered funds, which are taxpayer dollars. They're your dollars. And so what we already are meeting our financial policy guidelines as far as reserves to ensure that we have the money if something were to change. And now do we use those funds to make all of these things happen and all of those conversations. So that's what we're having. We're not looking to just bank away money that is our citizens' money. We're looking to provide the services to our citizens that they want and expect from us, and to be able to be financially sound for the future, and not take more money from our citizens than we have to make all that happen. So that's kind of what the conversation is. But March 31st, we'll have a more in-depth conversation with my colleagues on council. Any other questions? Christine, I was like, you can't go, Christine, without saying anything. So, yeah. You have a great event coming up at the end of this month, so if you want to share a little bit about that.
Big event, and I want to encourage those people that are working with youth in our city that this is a great opportunity to give back. We're having a huge cleanup day in the desert, and thank you both for mentioning about our desert, but it's being abused. I know people go out there to have a good time, and I live right there, and I like to go out there and have a good time, but just last week, a gentleman, I'm going to use that sparingly, drove his truck and trailer out there and dumped all his trash rather than paying for it at the dump. Now, a mattress at the dump is $35. So now people are turning to the free dump, which is our desert. So we're having a huge cleanup day on the 27th and 28th, the last weekend in March. We had one last year. We filled a huge dumpster. And BLM was so happy, they paid our dump fees, but you would not believe what we were bringing out of the desert. So I encourage you to tell your neighbors to call bulky pickup at Republic. They'll come and pick up that old washer or dryer or refrigerator or sofa for free right at your doorstep. You just have to make an appointment. So call bulky pickup. But another issue, this is new to me, another issue is we have 5 streets up in the equestrian area. Yes, equestrian. We have people that do love their horses. And these 5 streets empty into the desert, okay? Well, the motorcyclists see the desert opening ahead, and they see the off-roading opportunities ahead, and they punch it. And they are just going out there like maniacs because they're so happy to get out and have their fun. But the problem is they don't realize that there's hikers, dog walkers, equestrians that also enjoy the desert, and where those meet it's a hazard waiting to happen. So I'm talking to my police chief over here. Since these are city streets, is there a way we can get one of those speed telling signs? I drive by them and it lets me know, ooh, I'm going 5 miles over the speed limit. And just to let people know how fast they're going, because they don't realize it. They just see the opening ahead and gun for it. I don't know if we're allowed to have speed bumps or slow down signs or whatever, but it really is a concern. So please join us on the 27th, 28th. We'll be there at Paso de Oro and Colt Drive from 8:30 to 3:30 and making a difference. Thank you. And thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thank you for all your efforts in that area. Yeah, and just you brought up a good point. We get folks that say, hey, on my particular street, it's the busiest raceway that there ever was, and I want a stop sign here, or I want a speed bump there, or a speed hump in this area, or a sign. People know they're going too fast. So a sign that says slow down, not be like, oh, geez, I was caught. I'm going to slow down now. It's not how that works. So we just need to keep educating people to be respectful. Speed bumps, you don't really want them in your neighborhood. They'll come through, still go at the same speed, and instead now they'll jump the speed bump and hit down, and you'll hear that all day and all night. So the police department, through their traffic enforcement unit, does a really fantastic job. We have miles and miles and miles of streets, but they do a fantastic job. And so share your feedback with us, and we'll take care of it from there. But we already have systems in place to address it. But again, there's speed limit signs all over cities and towns across America, but people still speed. So adding signs and things like that are just not always the answer. Any other questions that anyone might have?
With no questions, can I throw one last topic out there? We are on the cusp of introducing a community survey. So questions earlier in terms of how do you collect information, how do you know what the citizens want? We're going to engage in a process here very, very quickly. It's a very extensive survey that we're going to be sending out. It's going to ask you about your neighborhood, city services, and maybe some priorities that the city should focus on. And we're going to use that information to help us make decisions amongst the city and council and so forth. So if you're lucky enough to win the community survey lottery, you'll be sent a survey in the mail, probably within the next 30 days or so. I would assume that those will start coming out. We'll do a press release and can announce some of that things. We have a little over 30,000 households in Lake Havasu City. Not every household will get a survey, but we're looking at about 4,000 hard copy surveys will be mailed out and asked to be mailed back in, free, postage free. And another 4,000 postcards that'll go out. We're going to ask people to get onto the website and fill out that exact same survey in that way as well too. So it's a way for us to dive in and learn more and more about what our residents want. So again, it'll be going out here in the upcoming weeks. And Anthony Kozlowski on the city's team is managing that project. So any questions, he's the man.
Yeah, and Gary, to your point, this is another opportunity for us to engage citizens in a large spread format that we couldn't engage otherwise. So, well, but we have a representative government for a reason. Some people they elect their representatives and they say that's who my person's going to be, and so they trust in the process. So we're doing as much outreach as we can. We're available and would love to be in front of anyone that has questions one-on-one, virtually, in group settings. That's what we do, and we'll continue. Yes, Councilmember Lane. We have people at home watching, so we just need to get you on microphone.
Same place, same time next month?
Next month, a great question. Next month, we are actually going to be dark. Next month, on the first Friday is Good Friday, April 2nd. And so we will not be there, but we will be back at it the first week of May. And we don't know the location yet. What we generally like to do is move around to different facilities that are owned by the taxpayers, not necessarily owned by city resources, but federal buildings, state buildings, county buildings. And hopefully we will see what the numbers are at and we can do that. If not, we will be here though. So we know this is a safe place for us, but if we can get back on the road and showcase all of the great things that we pay for as taxpayers, we'll do that.
Real quick question, what's going on with the Project 2020 downtown Springburg, McAndrew, Aquario Park?
Yeah, great question. Right now, so as a way of introduction to that for the folks at home that might not be aware of it, Vision 2020 was created to have 5 pillars of change for our community. So basically, citizens came together for one full day, over 200 citizens representing every civic, fraternal, economic, and business organization within our community. And through that day of discussion, the 5 pillars of change were economic development and job creation, education and talent supply, tourism and place development, water, and community engagement. Out of those 5 pillars, they went to work and worked on different components that would help drive those initiatives. And out of those, 3 different projects came to be. And one of those was a co-location work facility area, and that's moving forward. They've purchased property on McCulloch Boulevard behind Sanchez Hawkins Jewelry Store, and they're building a facility there for the co-work location. The other is the ELC, or the Environmental Learning Center. That is in feasibility stages. And then the Downtown Calais project is the 3rd project. All of this Vision 2020 was running parallel to a community competition in which Lake Havasu City was a $2 million grant prize winner. So the monies that have been expended, with the exception of the purchase of the land, have all been through prize winnings that we've done so far. The city did purchase the land in the downtown area, and we want to make a public-private partnership down in that area. The challenge has been that all of the projects that have come forward have been public partnerships. So all taxpayer dollars. Not what our intention was ever. And so we just keep saying no to that. No, not going to happen. And so we're looking for some private areas. Now the conversation has changed and shifted because it's been about 3 or 4 years since anything's happened. But yet that still is a downtown area that people use for events and gathering. And so what if we use the winnings to have that downtown area transformed into a park-like gathering area, whatever that looks like, into the future. And that'll be 10, 15 years. We still would leave the area that could eventually have private development on it, that they would purchase that area, that would augment it with shopping and retail or whatever that might look like. So we did an RFQ, and I'll turn it over to you to wrap that up. That's where you come in.
Yeah, so essentially what we're trying to do is how do we bring some good ideas to the table? What should that space look like moving forward? So in a partnership with the city and our good friends over at the Partnership for Economic Development, or the PED, We've gotten together and had some conversations, and you'll hear the city talk about RFPs and RFQs. So RFP is a request for proposal, and state statute says we can do that, go out for bid on something, and we get a cost back. When we talk about an RFQ, that's a request for qualifications. When we do for professional services, state statute says you can't ask for a dollar amount, but you can ask to get proposals that talk about experience and with regards to the team and similar projects and timelines and so forth. So we did that, and we put out an RFQ, a request for qualifications, and that the deadline was just this week. So Mr. Mike Keene on city staff is leading that effort. And with that RFQ, we solicited 4 proposals back from the landscape architect community. So what will happen there is we'll come in, we'll have some conversations with those folks. If council adopts or approves the contract to move forward in that capacity, and we'll look at how can we utilize that $1 million to do something really nice in that area. And we hear the conversations about what happens if a future restaurateur or somebody else in the private sector wants to come and be a part of that project. So we're very cognizant of that as an option, whether that occurs today or 10 years from now. We'll do some designs out there to allow that for future consideration. So yeah, but in the end, the PD and then the city received some dollars to beautify the downtown area. So we're moving forward and trying to generate some ideas on how that could take place.
Yeah, so we received those through the winnings that I mentioned earlier. So those are the prize winnings. And we'll also engage the ABC committee because this was a community-led effort. So the ABC committee, it needs to be a part of that. So the original 200 citizens and then their subgroups and all of those other folks will engage them. But we wanted to have options, and so that's kind of where we're at now. All right, we're up against the clock where our hour and a half is up, but thank you so much for the opportunity to serve you as your mayor. If there's anything we can do to be of service, we'll be around afterwards, or just engage us via email or call us, either myself or any of my colleagues on council. Thank you, everyone, and have a good afternoon.
Make it a good day.